You're trying to sell the love, man. I'm trying to sell the reality.
Great, you've got a fiber connection. What happens when that goes down?
I think it depends on the area, the neighborhood, how it fits into your world domination scheme, right?
Good job, Larry.
You just called me out. Larry, sit up.
Sit up, man.
Welcome back to the conversation. That's enough.
So much in this industry is driven by price, right? Price to consumer, price to purchase backhaul, price. Is there ever a reason why you would choose wireless over fiber besides cost?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many other reasons. I mean, fiber, just cost is too simplistic of an approach. There's terrain. I mean, there's places you can try and bury fiber, but it's going to cost you enormous amounts of money. Rocks, it's pretty hard to go through mountains. Yeah, right. It's a little tough. There's also, time to market is another big thing with wireless technology. You can get that up almost instantaneously. Maybe you've got some licensing, but licensing is a lot less time than permitting and going to the city board and the planning commission and the zoning commission and getting
And
your
all
right
the
of
fingers in the
way.
pie,
I mean, fiber's got a lot of prep time, a lot of lead time. So I think time to market is definitely one of those places where you might want to do it because you might want to capture a market.
Or over COVID, we saw a lot of supply issues, things taking longer, even just crews being, overbooked with all of the plans. If you need to grab a neighborhood because you want to be first to market, maybe you'll eventually do the build. Maybe you can't get your hands on the gear. You could just pop up a cow tower and you could be lit up overnight and get those signatures, get those contracts in, and maybe eventually you'll come with fiber. With some of the platforms, I mean, you can sell your same packages on wireless. So I think that is something that people should probably think about a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, just the speed to get there and to capture that market. Yeah, maybe you backfill it with fiber at some point. Maybe that's your long-term solution. But I think the other thing is a hybrid approach, getting fiber to some of these towers. You've got the capacity to serve these towers. Fiber gets, the top tier and great. It's speeds and its asymmetrical speeds are pretty nice. But wireless has its place. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So I think hybrid can make a lot of sense in a lot of cases.
I think it's interesting to also think about the distance between the fiber deployments. We were talking about farms in Iowa. You may get fiber to the farmhouse, but what about the back 40? Do you really need fiber in the back 40 of the fields, even though the equipment is now Internet of Things? It's connectivity. It's your watering systems. It's your heavy machinery. They all have some sort of connectivity to the internet or need to connect. And is fiber really going to be the solution for that, or is a wireless solution way more logical, either aerially or in the ground?
Yeah, I mean, fiber can't be the solution to the tractor. I mean,
At some point you're using
at some
wireless.
point you're going to wireless because
Absolutely.
that tractor is going to just backhoe fades 100%, like they say.
And you talked about terrain and you talked about the back 40, but even just the density of the buildings or housing or whatever, at some point, the economics do change. I know you said anything other than cost, but cost is still a factor at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think a strategic mix is almost always going to be the move. And one kind of edge case, but I do think it's worth mentioning. If you're doing B2B and you're selling commercial connections, diversity is really important, and getting full diversity using fiber sometimes is very difficult. Maybe you're having to wholesale and sell from a competitor. Maybe bring in a microwave link, a dedicated point-to-point microwave link, and you can have that diversity, you can have that failover, and it can be all on your network.
And even if it's not your customer, is there, even for customers where they're not using you for their primary link, we did that. I mean, it was like, great, you've got a fiber connection. What happens when that goes down? How about putting in one of our wireless connections.
So
And
one
we
company
found-
provides the fiber, a different company provides the
well,
redundancy.
I mean, that
wireless.
is how we sold it, because we found out that was a good target audience, was backup links to your,
true.
to
Well,
your,
and fiber-
your primary
important.
broadband.
The diversity is built in when you do that because it's two separate companies, two separate networks.
And we've all had the customer, down for a minute. You're costing me thousands of dollars
Yes.
Well, and
at your house.
the reality is fiber cuts happen. Fiber goes down too.
Fiber goes down.
Wireless goes down, and having the option to have a backup plan is
Having
important.
two of them is important. Right. Yeah.
And if you start like that, well, maybe they have a bad experience. Maybe their experience with you from a customer service standpoint is really good. Maybe you pick up the fiber business and you get the primary connection over time.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you ever imagine a world where consumer demand really makes anything but fiber be obsolete?
It's funny thinking back, like fiber wasn't always it, but it was wireline, right? So whether it was a T1 for a business or, cable connections, and now fiber's really become kind of the new standard. When you kind of plot the speeds that were being sold on these networks and you overlay the speeds that wireless is capable of in terms of point to multi-point solutions, it's keeping up. It's always lower. Having symmetrical maybe is more challenging or maybe not tenable, but in terms of being able to sell practical speeds, it's close. So I think the answer to that question really is dependent on like how much blood we can squeeze out of the stone of bits per hertz, right? Like how much more efficient can wireless equipment get? So far, we haven't seen a hard plateau on that.
No, that's going to just keep going. So I think obsolete, is way too strong a word. I don't think that you're ever going to get
It's three
the
syllables
absolute-
too, so
Is
three
it?
thirds.
Yeah, all right. Well,
So,
no, obsolete.
Yep.
It
Checking
isn't
me
going to
on that.
happen. I mean, there's, the good enough principle. And I think wireless is managed to keep doing that. You need to be able to provide the speeds people need so that what they're doing in their house or what they're doing in their business is going to keep functioning the way they want. At some point, the numbers just become numbers. I mean, not in certain industries and for certain people. I mean, you need more speed, but the typical person, once they hit a certain range, it's just all bragging rights at that point. And
Check out my speed test.
yeah, right. Look at my speed test
Yeah.
numbers, right? Latency becomes a factor, and that has nothing to do with the speed. You can get decent latency. A lot of our wireless, we're beating the providers around us. So
Well, I think innovation
gamers
is
were
going to
happy.
continue to roll out new opportunities for providers, and it'll be on both sides of the house. Innovation, it's necessity drives it, right? And whether you're looking at terrain, you're looking at how far from point to point. I mean, you used to think that you could only serve on a tower out this particular radius, and now that radius is growing and growing and growing for wireless providers. I don't know what it's going to look like 2 years from now, because somebody is already in the process of coming up with another innovation that's going to help drive that radius out or drive that connectivity to be a better experience for the end users. And then I also think about the global implications. We talk about a lot the Canadian and the U.S. markets, but
Right.
what about the South America, the African markets? What they're overcoming with deserts and distances and heat. There was a heat index last week that was like 148 degrees. Are you kidding me? How does your equipment respond to that?
And this is as cool as it's ever going to be.
Right.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to be new challenges that are going to have to be remedied for sure.
Yeah, so it's definitely not going to ever be obsoleted.
Obsolete. I'll
Obsolete.
noted to self. So cost per home is one of those metrics that really gets laid out a lot. Do you think that will be the metric to watch for providers?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hot topic now, obviously, with the recent changes to BEAD. This has become a headline consideration, and it was
on the
not
news,
before.
on the evening news.
Right.
Cost per home.
Yep. This, CPH.
Yep.
So is it going to be the metric to watch? Absolutely. Because it is going to be a strong determining factor in terms of who wins their bids. That's huge. And I would imagine that this has some people scrambling back to the drawing board and maybe looking to pivot, get that metric down, because it's going to make their bid more attractive.
Cost per home, is it well defined? Is it past homes, connected homes?
Yeah, because I'm confused about
which
that.
numbers do I get to skew it to? Because I know
Right.
that there are, people are posting numbers that are both. It's either, the number of homes I'm passing or the number of homes that are connected. And your cost per home becomes very different for
When
a
you've got
past
4 providers that can service that house versus there's one that's actually connected to that house.
Right. If you're going by connected, right, your cost per home is going to go way up versus past. Yeah. I'm not going to get any of these people as customers, but my cost per home is pretty low, So I think we need to define exactly what cost per home is.
And make sure that the people that are doling out the money understand what the cost per home actually is. There is a delineation between the two.
And then do you count an MDU as one passed, one connected? Do you count each apartment or location in there?
Is it a dwelling? Is it a building?
Should maybe be cost per serviceable address is what I think is maybe a better metric.
CPSA.
We're just making up metrics now.
We
I like it.
It's the one to watch.
We can coin a new metric right here.
I'm going to go ahead and go on into one of our bonus questions, and it's how do you balance those long-term infrastructure bets with the short-term cash flow realities? As money is taking longer to flow from the federal government, how do you continue to build out and make your plan a reality?
I think the idea of blending wireless in and using it as a way to get to market and get those customers out is a really great way to just get your footing. And I guess if you're already comfortable with wireless and it's already part of your network, then it really is no big deal. I think it's going to be more exploratory for people, but maybe they try it out and see. And if they can sell similar packages, then maybe it's going to suffice. I mean, it's definitely going to be a more economical way to continue on with something similar to the timeline you were planning. If you're sitting and waiting for money and you have to, it's your full fat fiber plan or nothing, you're just sitting and waiting. And that is, every day that goes by is a day that your competitor could go in and capture that market. So I guess you have to know your markets and know, can I afford to wait? Can I gamble on this still being there for me when the check finally clears?
Well, and that wireless also gives you the MRR to maybe start being able to afford some of that build process on your own, not waiting for that money to come through.
Very true.
That money's taking a while. And you've got these customers, so when you get that fiber in there, it should be an easy conversion if you want to convert them. I mean, like I think we've argued, the wireless might be good. And, if you're getting the rates you need to and you've already got the hardware there, there's not a whole big benefit to switching them to the fiber, getting that same rate, but having to send out a truck roll, a technician, and run fiber from the node to the house, and there's still a lot more costs. So
it's interesting. I know a number of providers, fixed wireless providers, that bootstrap their operations. They self-funded their operations. I cannot think of a single example of a fiber-only provider that bootstrapped their operations.
Because it's got a 20-year. I mean, the return on fiber is so long that it takes so much cash.
It's certainly longer than wireless. I've seen under 20 for sure, and it can be done. I mean, we were not using public monies to do our fiber networks. I mean, we had some private debt that we took on to make it make sense. But yes, bootstrapping it is going to be harder for sure. But one of the other reasons that fiber kind of has become the norm, the banks talk fiber, the banks understand fiber. Fiber is an asset. Wireless is a liability, right? The second you put that gear up on the tower, you write it down to zero. It can't be recovered. Fiber is an investment. Those, all of that outside plant is money in the bank. It is, it is leverage, and the bank will leverage debt
Bitcoin,
against that.
Isn't it?
Right. They will give you as much as you want, really, to, when it comes to that comparatively. If you're looking to grow through private financing or debt financing, then I think it's harder to get the money for the wireless. So thank God it's cheaper. And you just kind of roll it out of your Yeah.
Yeah, the banking industry understands fiber. They don't understand wireless.
And, to me, 3 to 5 years ago, you had people who were only ever going to provide fixed wireless and people who were only ever going to provide fiber. And you've seen a blending in recent years. People who were like, oh, you know what? Maybe there is a play for a portion of my network to be a fiber
Good
arena.
luck finding a pure wireless play anymore. And it's for that reason. Like you were saying, it doesn't have to be fiber to the home or fiber to the premise. At some point, if you're successful and you've got your towers loaded up with sectors, backhaul becomes a concern. And the economics of that, I'm not as well versed in the cost of licensing in the States as I am in Canada, but microwave backhaul license costs are extraordinarily expensive in Canada. Not that hard to get, but very, very expensive. So interestingly, we just talk about the economics of wireless being cheaper. We found in practice, if we needed to expand our channel or add another backhaul, we were getting fiber to the towers as a means of reducing costs. So I think for transport, it is a totally different conversation. And it's a conversation worth having, but the consumer doesn't know or doesn't care. That's just, the behind the green curtain magic, right? The transport side's never spoken about. It's just you need it in order to be able to deliver last mile.
So it's like you knew what my next question was going to be, because I want to know how you assess the local demand before making a major infrastructure play. Do your end users know the difference between what fiber can provide them and fixed wireless can provide them?
So do they know? I mean, see, we had to play that game in reverse. We had to educate them why. I mean, fiber has done a phenomenal marketing job. Everybody knows fiber. I want to have fiber. I have to have fiber.
Well, to be fair, there's good reasons for that. It is the most stable. It just.
But when you're not providing it, you have to come up with good explanations why that isn't the only solution, right? Yeah. So I mean, their wireless is reliable if installed properly and serviced properly. It may not get the speeds, I guarantee that, but it does get the speeds that the customer needed. So I think it's how you market it. And in trying to find when you're going into that new community, go into new areas, go to their fairs and say, we would set up a booth saying, we're thinking about coming here. Is there any interest? That was way back in the days. Obviously, I don't know that it has become a different game. It used to be acquiring customers. Now it's stealing customers because everybody has internet these days.
It's just a different acquisition model, Larry. Come on
now. It's a different acquisition model, yes.
Stealing.
All right. Well, that's what it is. Taking from one guy and bringing it to yourself.
Yeah. When you're marketing, though, do you need to? Is it like do you have to declare it? Like, can't you just sell the package? Do you have to talk about the delivery method? And I think that's maybe a different way to interpret that question. Is like, you got your nutrition labels now, right? And you got the fiber over here and you got the wireless over here. And if the speeds are comparable and the latency is comparable and the pricing is comparable, some consumers are savvy enough to ask. I think the ones that are going to ask for sure are the ones that have had a negative experience with wireless. So once bitten, twice shy. But I think the average consumer may not even think to ask that question. They're just going to look at the overall offering and they're going to call you up and say install it. They're not going to really know until you have a truck in their driveway and you're going up on their roof instead of going into their basement.
I agree. I mean, I've been in internet for 25 years plus, and my family couldn't tell you how our internet's being delivered, nor do they care. As long as it's working and I can watch my Netflix, continuously and binge watch my shows. Yep, we're good.
Absolutely. Oh, you're so far away.
Sonar software doesn't force you to change how you operate, it enhances it. Flexible, API-driven, and purpose-built for ISPs who do things their way. Learn more at sonar.software.
We've got some new props for our Love It or Hate It session, and I love this already. Love it! First question. Every ISP should eventually go full fiber.
Hate it. Then.
Sorry, it's there's a consensus here. I think there's a play for fixed wireless.
There's just too much nuance. There's just, for an absolute statement like that, there's always going to be a very good reason to not go all in like that.
Yeah, right. It's a full, it's the absolute. And there's plenty of hybrid opportunities. So we already discussed, that in the first segment.
Not a shocking
there's,
result.
You're right. There's so many places you can do it.
Yeah.
So
next question, love it or hate it. Customers don't care about the delivery method. Dun, dun, dun. Go ahead. Tell me more about why you guys love that statement.
I love that statement because customers care about speed, latency, reliability. I don't think customers care how it gets there as long as it's serving their needs. It can be, if we can do it via tin can and still get the bandwidth that they need and the latency, that's what they need. Now, that being said,
tin can.
I'm an old guy. I know about tin cans.
And strings.
Right. And strings. Yeah. You haven't ever done that?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
100%.
I was going to say, and it got the bandwidth through, right?
That's right.
That you needed at that point.
From one tree to one tree.
But, the other thing about that, though, is, fiber has done that great marketing job. So I think there is that perception, the reality perception that you want and need fiber.
Yeah, I think if you can run a very good, very competitive offering on wireless. If you're running wireless, you better be good at it.
Right.
Right. Otherwise,
absolutely.
Then this doesn't make any sense, right? Because your reputation will precede you no matter what your network is doing, right? It's customer service, everything else. It's not just one and done.
So share with us.
I'm going to tell you, I hate it because I think it's about customer education. I think there's a play for informing the customer base about the opportunities that fixed wireless provides over fiber. And I think that's true across the U.S. I think it's true across Canada. And I definitely think it's true across the world. The shiny light of fiber or LEO or whatever other method of delivery we're providing, to me, let's educate the customers and let them know they're getting a good deal with fixed wireless and it's reliable. It's all the things that you said it is, but I think they need to understand why it is a good thing. So that's why I alternated from you guys. Sorry.
Okay. So
are you going to change your vote? Did I convince you?
No.
Oh.
But I do have a follow-up question for you.
Okay.
Is that necessary because, like Larry is saying, fiber has already done that marketing play and gotten into people's heads, and your wireless offering is not getting the traction, so then it becomes this marketing necessity? Like, is there a world in which you just don't say that part out loud at all and you just put your offerings out there and compete? Or is this more a case where you genuinely believe you can turn the tides and kind of, get some hype around the wireless, some excitement around the wireless as a competitive advantage?
I really think it's because I'm an educator at heart, and the world of internet and artificial intelligence and all the things, and computers even, just continues to evolve at the speed literally of light. I know, right? The fiber, whatever. I hate to say that.
Are you arguing against your point now?
But the end users need education. And I think it starts with your service delivery. How do they get their internet? What options are there? Is there some kid out there that's going to come up with what the next solution is behind fiber? Because there will be another solution beyond fiber. And it's not going to be LEO across the globe. It's just not. What's next for quantum internet? So I really want to see the end users be more educated, have more opportunity for understanding the technologies and how they can leverage it for education, for medical, for work, all of those things. And that, I think that's my servant heart. That
I don't
speaks to
disagree
that.
with the education piece. We spent a lot of time educating people why that was, a good choice.
Yeah. People think about things differently when you educate them. Yeah. Last question for Love It or Hate It. The new rules were written to make LEO a shoo-in.
It's for BEAD.
Yes, for BEAD funding. The new rules were written to make LEO a shoo-in. Oh, I've got to love it and I hate it.
I mean, we're going to have to qualify.
Okay.
Please.
You're going to let me qualify?
So, Larry, you hate it.
Okay, so I hate it. So we all know what LEO we're talking about. It is a very specific LEO that
There
will
is one
remain
leader in this space.
Yes,
Yes.
will remain unnamed, I guess, just because I can't have him coming after me. I don't have the funds to be able to support that. But I don't think it was written for them. It also allowed the fixed wireless to get in on the BEAD funding. And I think that the metrics were more performance based. That's why I said hate it. I don't think it was only written to get the LEO in. To influence it, maybe, but I don't think it was only for the LEO.
I'll agree with you that it kind of serendipitously did benefit the wireless providers in the wireless world. I do, though, and maybe this is, a conspiratorial thing. I don't know. You'll have to tell me, but I do. I do believe it. There's just too much to be coincidental. There's too much at stake there. And I think it is a really, we're all kind of on the edge of our seats to see really how this plays into effect. How much are we putting our thumb on the scale for this metric in terms of a deciding factor? Because the cost per home for LEO is so far obfuscated from reality. It's so cheap that you will win on that metric every single time.
Which is why I think we got to go back to the cost per home connected.
Right.
It not just right. Obviously, they're passing every home. So,
but one could argue they already are, right? Not to go on a tangent or anything, but what's the theory? If they wanted it, they could have it today. I mean, obviously, from a scale perspective, there's capacity and more satellites are required. But there are many, many areas over underserved communities today with LEO coverage that has seats available. It is oftentimes more expensive, certainly if you look at, cost of bandwidth per dollar than any other method. So if they could have it today, did they not get it because they don't want it? Can they not afford it? That's not going to change.
Well, I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree.
I've got a no vote.
A no vote. I thought you were going my way. That you were showing you're going to vote for me. I'm like, yeah, here it comes.
So sorry, my friend. I got a no vote here.
Something printed on the side of these or something.
Both have very valid points. And I think LEO is going to continue to be something we've got to watch. I think we saw, 2 weeks ago, large-scale outages can still happen with LEO, impact those end users. It is not a perfect delivery method. And I think we need to look at how the funding is, because can the tribal communities who need that kind of resource afford LEO service? I don't know.
Yeah. So you plan to get into politics? Going with this, I'm going to please everybody vote.
I guess.
I'm just going with this. I'm not.
You're trying to sell it. You're trying to sell the love, man. I'm trying to sell the reality. It's hard. It's hard to understand that particular question because we don't know the intent. I don't know if there were secret backroom deals made that lets LEO sneak into the legislation. Yes, it opened the door for fixed wireless providers, but at the end of the day, does it really help the end users? I don't know.
That's what we're all watching
Time
for.
Will tell. And for right now, I'm right in the middle. I love it and I hate it, and it is my reality. Sorry,
Georgette.
I know. I'm a flim flam. If you're enjoying Bandwidth, help us out by leaving a rating on Spotify. It only takes a second, and it helps more industry pros discover the show. We'd love your support. We're going to bring home and go into our what if segment. And I think this is it's really happening segment, yeah, right. But what if, gentlemen, your approved funding receives a 6-month delay after you've already started planning and promoting your service? What if?
That might not happen
ever.
Ever. So, right. So stretching the imagination, it gives you the time to continue. I mean, you can continue at promotion. You can, if you're well enough funded, obviously, you can maybe risk the proceeding with your plans ahead of time. Were you relying on this for all of your funding? If so, maybe you're in such a precarious spot already, because you can't rely on the government even before they start cutting the checks, could change your mind again. I mean, we've seen it. This is not the first time
If it
this
happens once, it
process
can
has
happen twice.
happened.
Yeah.
Take that time though to maybe review the plan. Make sure when you are ready to go, it's measure twice, cut once. That you've got the right plan and you're ready to go. Train your staff ahead of time. There's a lot of things you can do in the interim, but I mean, you need to keep the momentum going, and that's the hard part. So hopefully you've got some funding that you can just proceed. That this wasn't I'm relying on this solely factor.
I think it depends on the area, the neighborhood, how it fits into your world domination scheme, right? Like if this is a pawn that needed to be played at a certain time and there's maybe a risk of someone else coming in and overbuilding, then I think you need to probably move on and pursue funding from another place and capture that market that you're planning on getting and keep things moving forward. Otherwise, I mean, there is also cases where people are applying because it's a logical place for them to go into and it's complementary to what they're already doing, but it maybe isn't going to change their lives and they have other things that they can do and stay productive and keep things moving. If it's that sort of thing that they're waiting on, you could probably afford to wait. It's still annoying. Maybe you've committed to materials. Maybe you have crews. Like it's even at its easiest, it's still complicated. But am I going to go out of my way to try and fund that myself, knowing that, to your point, maybe that check never clears?
It might not.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
And the fact of the matter is, there are companies that have made the decision to not apply. And it doesn't matter if it's RDOF money or if it's ARPA money or if it's state money or if it's BEAD money. They're looking at other ways to fund their specific growth. And in some cases, people are saying, I'm going to go ahead and grow while these other people are waiting for BEAD money to be the end all be all. And they are going to be ahead in some circumstances, depending on what those deployments look like.
There was a local-ish program that we would have surely been shoo-ins for, and we strategically decided to sit it out. We looked at the terms and the conditions and what the restrictions on what you have to do with the network and all of those different things. And at the end of the day, we said we're just going to keep doing what we were doing.
Applications are complicated. The reporting requirements are onerous.
Enormous.
Onerous.
That's what stopped us every time, was always the reporting requirements.
Yeah, if you're
like,
small,
we can fill out the application, but then that ongoing info that we're going to need.
Who's doing this?
It's like, am I really getting any funding, or am I just funneling it back to you and all the money I'm going to pay to do
And
all
I'm
the
going to be very
reporting?
interested to see if AI can help with some of those reporting requirements, because you should be able to have these set data points and pull them on a regular basis and be able to get that information back in. But who's prepared for that right now? It's going to be very interesting for sure.
Oh, AI will help to massage those reports. Absolutely.
Indeed.
Next time on Bandwidth, we're diving into what it's like to run an ISP during a natural disaster. From hurricanes to wildfires, we're talking about the real boots-on-the-ground experience and why being local gives you the edge when the pressure's on. Don't miss it.
Remember, when you connect communities, you unlock what's possible. Until next time.